get to ask Larry a question.
All right, folks. Keith, you can just turn up the mic to hear the questions as best you can. You got mics, okay. We'll start right over here for this press conference. Over to the left, Cam T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Brian, you talked, I think it was a couple weeks ago, about you want to see more from Will. Something that stood out early was just his pocket presence. He seemed okay, seemed good today, especially on that throw that on the sideline. Just how have you seen his growth as he's gotten more experience in the summer?
Yeah, I think the pocket presence is something that was there early on when he got into the spring practice. We were able to see that. That's something that is difficult to teach. That your eyes are downfield, but you're feeling the rush. It does help when you're north of 6'4", and but he stands in there. You can see that. And so I just think that over the spring, the timing is increasing. It's getting better over and over again. I think the more reps that all these guys get, the better. But it looks like, I guess, during that drive, he had some nice completions in there. I think there was a sack in there, maybe held on a little too long. And the wind was blowing pretty hard today, and so I think we underthrew a couple balls. But overall, I thought he had at least had a good comfort level for the first drive in the shoe.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
And just kind of more generally, where does the quarterback competition stand in this spring?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm going to make any declarations right now, but we'll look at the film and see what it looks like, and then decide where to go from there. But I don't have much to say about it right now.
Over to the right here, Austin Ward, The Podcast.
Ryan, what do you go into the summer feeling the best about this team?
I would say, our experience, just a bunch of guys who played a whole bunch of football. Today, I think there was, about 10 players who came up and wanted more snaps today, but look, at next year is a long run, and there's a lot of guys out there who have played a lot of football. Some of them, well over 1,000 snaps. And, the number one thing in something like this is to stay healthy. I mean, you want to get good work in there the best you can, but you got to stay healthy. It's too important. There's too much invested in these players now more than ever, and so I feel like we had to get those guys out of there. But I think these guys have played a lot of football. When you look at our defense, you look at the back end, you look at the front, and then those linebackers. I mean, it's a good looking group, and you saw that all spring. They're flying around, they're getting it, and they all want to play more and show off in this game. But that's our job as coaches to kind of hold them back. But you can see a lot of talent out there. I thought the corners really did a nice job of covering. You saw the guys get some pressures on the quarterback. I think on the offensive side, you see again guys like Emeka who've been out there before, and Donovan Jackson. So there is experience both running backs. I thought all the running backs did a nice job today. Certainly for James and Sam, getting the first opportunity to get tackled was good. We'll look at the film because that is different, but I think we have some real good playmakers on the perimeter. I mean, I could kind of go on and on, but again, I guess if you said the number one thing, it would probably be our experience in game reps.
Over to the left, Rob Aller, The Dispatch, and then I wanted to go to Nathan Baird. Rob?
Yeah, Ryan, with the younger quarterbacks in particular, is part of the idea, you did a lot of quick outs, a lot of swing passes, keep their confidence up? I mean, can they lose confidence in a game like this, or how do you manage them, I guess?
Well, you try to get into a rhythm, for them just to get some completions because it all is happening fast, and that's kind of how it works. When you're doing everything for the first time, there's certain things that you're learning and you're growing, and you want to make things easy for them. But again, it was, I don't know what the wind ended up being, but it was gusting pretty good in there, and so all it takes is a little bit of a gust of wind, and it's in the DB's hands, and that can rattle your confidence. So to your point, you try to get in a little rhythm a little bit. They try to push the ball down a little bit down the field, but probably could have done it a little bit more. But wanted to get the ball out in space to our guys, and like you said. But I think overall, with all the guys, I guess we were 37 of 57, but we did have the 3 interceptions. So I think we just got some good snaps on film. That was good, and I guess we ran it 49 times. So this will be a lot of film to watch and grow from. But we want to be able to, some of those passes, those are like long handoffs for us. We want to stretch the field horizontally, and then we want to stretch the field vertically. And we didn't get as much of an opportunity to do that today, but there were a couple of play action passes where they kind of ran out of there. We checked it down and made good yardage on it.
An emphasis on QBs running a little more. I know that's been what you talked about. We saw a little more of that today.
And you can see, it's like Air, I think, had 3 carries for 25, Devin 3 for 24, and so Lincoln, I think, had 16 yards rushing. So when you have a quarterback who can run, it does change the numbers, as we all know. You guys have seen that over the years, and it's going to be a weapon for us this year because all of our quarterbacks are athletic enough to do that.
Folks, I'm going to bring Tyleek Williams and send him into the back right now, but over to the right, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Right, on Wednesday, you said that you wanted to have at least a projection on where you were at with the right side of the offensive line coming out of spring. Do you feel like you have that projection right now? I know you still have to watch the film, but do you feel like you know what's going on there, what you think might happen?
No, I don't think we're there right now. But again, like you said, kind of watch this film and then go back, evaluate the entire spring, and then kind of see where to go from there.
Is it fair to say that you want Josh Pryor to play right tackle, but somebody needs to step up and left tackle to allow that to happen?
Well, we know that Josh can play right tackle, and he's done that before, but we want to find the best 5. We feel like Josh is one of our best 5. If we can figure that part of it out, that'd be great. He has played a little bit of guard, but he's also played tackle. So the goal is to find our best 5.
Over to the left, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
Right, to go back to the quarterback running concept, obviously there's a fine line sometimes between using that as a weapon and then using it as a crutch, I guess. How are you evaluating that this spring from that group? And I guess especially, how is his defense giving you a better indication of that just by how tight their coverage is, how much pressure they can bring?
Yeah, I think that's the thing here right now is, you feel like if you can stop, the running game, you feel like you're doing a pretty good job. If you feel like, you can pass on our DBs, you're doing a pretty good job. If you feel like you can cover some of our receivers, you're doing a good job. So this is back and forth on a daily basis, and it's great competition. Individually going against really good players, but also against a great unit on defense and a great unit on offense. But there are ways, like in particular today, we were doing some open side reading of the defensive end, and if the defense decides they're going to crash and make the quarterback run the ball, then that's their decision. Now, we also know that if that's going on too much, we know ways to handle that, whether it's bringing the tight end over to block them, to make sure the running backs are getting enough carries. So it just depends on the design of the play. And today, that's what happened, but we have ways to adjust that based on our one game plan.
Over here, Tim May, the Tim May Podcast.
Just two quickies. Ryan, was it now tradition that a Griffin will score the last touchdown?
I guess so. That was pretty wild.
But number 2, you talked about a second ago. I think the depth maybe at cornerback is a little bit overlooked. Calvin Simpson-Hunt, for example, stepped up today. What have you seen of him in particular this spring? Because he's highly rated coming in, and et cetera.
Good player. Like you said, highly rated, but good player. He's growing every day. He came in the summer, so this is his first full spring. And for Lincoln and for for Jason Moore and the Cade McDonald, those guys all came in the summer. So this is their first full year. They still haven't been on campus for a year. You think that they've been around for a long time, but they haven't. So now you're starting to see him get comfortable with the calls. And we've said this before. We have got to play depth, and you're good to see Jermaine good in there, a little bit of nickel. Obviously, Jordan's going to be the starting nickel in there, but he can jump out to corner, so that gives us some flexibility. And then seeing Calvin out there as well, and the other guy who really had a good spring until we had to have a little procedure done just out of caution was Lorenzo Styles. So to your point, I think that there is good depth there, but we're going to need them all.
Is this as good a depth as you've seen defensively in a few years? I mean, from your vantage point.
At corner, yes. I think we're still, for me to say that, the best we've seen at all positions, no, I don't think we're there.
I don't mean forever.
But at corner and, maybe at a couple other positions, and then some other positions we got to solidify a little better.
Okay, final question for Coach Day, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, you've talked a lot about needing guys for 16, 17 games in depth, but one of the positions that we haven't really talked about that with is receiver. Do you feel like you guys have the receiver depth that you need right now? And can those guys, those top 4 or 5, play all 16, or do you need guys, younger guys, or veterans who haven't really contributed to step up?
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate question. I think when you have Mecca and Carnell, and then Jaden Ballard, Jeremiah, then you get into Bryson Rogers, who has done some really good things this spring. I know he had a couple tough plays today, but we think he can really help us next year. We're missing Brandon Ennis. Brandon Ennis, same thing. He was having a lot of momentum, and then there was a procedure. We just felt like out of caution, we had to get it done. We just didn't want it to linger, so we did that. So we'll need him to step up in a big way. And then, to your point, we're going to need a couple more guys to step up to build that depth there, because we do have some really good players, but we're going to need them all. So I think it's important that some of those younger guys do step up. We are going to get Milan this summer, and we're going to get Demarion Witten, who's going to play a little bit of receiver, a little bit of tight end. So we do have some young guys, and to your point, they're going to have to help us.
Do you think that Jaden is in that group right now that can help you?
I think Jaden took a step here this last week. We've been challenging him. There's been a couple plays, one in particular, he needed to make some plays to say, okay, I'm here and you can count on me. There was a really contested play in the red zone that he made. He made a big play on a post out here the other day. So you're starting to see him make those plays. And if he can do that for us, with his deep speed down the field, he can really stretch the defense. And so we're going to need him to. And we did see things in the last couple of weeks that led us to believe that he can.
I'm sorry, Coach. I got one more. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch, and then we've got Coach Knowles.
Ryan, as you look back on not just today, but all 15 practices and assess the impact that Chip's had for you guys, is there something you feel like, or just in general, where he's helped maybe the most, or his presence the last 2 months has given you guys the biggest boost?
Yeah, I think he brings one voice to the defense, and I think that's very, very important. Certainly has an unbelievable history of running the football, and I think when you start to tie in some of those quarterback runs, and you notice those quarterback runs aren't designed quarterback runs really. Most of them are reading an end, and those aren't hellacious hits. They're things where we're going to keep guys upright, and he does a really good job of that. But the other thing too with Chip was he got here just a couple weeks before spring started, so we kind of got the spring going, pushed through the spring, learned about the personnel. I think the next couple months will be important to figure out where we go now. What do we do? What does the install look in the preseason? And then we go from there. So like any spring, you want to identify the personnel and get guys better, and then really dive into the scheme and the chemistry as we head into the summer.
Coach, thank
Do
you.
you feel like you're compelled to let the quarterbacks know where they stand before Tuesday?
We're going to give them feedback for sure, and go from there. But yeah, I think we, after you go through 15 practices, you want to give feedback.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.